Hello, everyone. Welcome to Build Series. I'm HuffPost reporter Lee Blickley, and one of our favorite on-screen vampires, Ian Somerhalder, is trading in his fangs, but don't fret, he's not leaving the genre behind. In the new Netflix series V-Wars, based on the comic by Jonathan Mayberry, he plays scientist Dr. Luther Swann, who is thrust into a world of horror when a vampiric virus spreads, putting humans at great risk. Let's take a look at a clip.
Did you hear that too? I think there's something downstairs.
Authorities in upstate New York reported a series of attacks called vampire killings.
We need you, Doctor. All the victims have been missing a lot of blood.
Oh my God.
So what do we know so far?
This is a modified virus causing DNA transformations.
I need your help, buddy.
I don't know what I've become. I am your brother. Together we will find a cure for this.
Go, go, go.
The man you knew is gone.
My people and I are not terrorists. And as much right to live as anyone else. Horrible as it will be, this war is also necessary. Blood Nation will prevail.
The infection is spreading faster than any of us could have anticipated.
Oh. We're killing this thing.
I'm a doctor. I can help make you better.
I need to feed.
Join in with us. Or die alone.
What happens now?
I need a doctor. I am a doctor.
Let's welcome Ian Somerhalder right
Thank
here.
you. Hi, everyone.
Woo!
Great shirt. The guy asks, in that scene, he says, I need a doctor. And I'm standing on top of him with a 50 caliber Desert Eagle. And I say, I am a doctor. And
And you're like, yes,
I
that's
shoot
my
it.
big moment.
well, yeah, because this guy, it's really great to be here with all of you. Sorry.
Look at all these fans here for you.
Yeah,
That's
thank you
great.
guys for the love and thank you for the opportunity. You know, I wanted to be. This has been like a global sort of round robin press tour, and sometimes you. Anyway, I wanted to be all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but I'm
Tired?
yeah, but I'm so happy and grateful to be here with everyone. So.
Yeah, he doesn't look tired from here.
But you know, the guy that you meet in the first, the idea of any character, right, is a great arc, is a journey, like in life. And the guy that you meet in the first scene of the first episode of the show compared to the guy you just saw is vastly different. And hopefully the journey of Dr. Luther Swann, you can go down it with him. So anyway, I've got water, coffee, and tea. So whoever needs to get jacked, just come up here.
You are caffeinated. We will last for these 30 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for being here.
We just had your buddy Paul Wesley here on Monday.
My
Yeah. Do you remember Paul?
That's not my buddy. That's my brother.
Oh.
I actually have to call him the second I leave here.
He's probably looking for a meetup, but he did say he talked a little bit about your bourbon.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff to discuss with Paul today.
That's awesome.
We spent 8 years together, literally all day, every day. It was like a brother marriage. And so, you know, we're family. We love each other. We had been working on this bourbon for years, but we knew we were on a television show. We wouldn't really have time to do it. We wanted to give it time when we were ready. I knew I was getting married. I knew I would be having a child. So this is the time that we are launching this, and it has been such an amazing journey. You know, the Salvatore brothers have a bourbon, and other than being in love with Elena and trying not to kill each other, the other thing that these brothers are most famous for is drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
And the joke of it is, but what's cool about it is you have so many memories with these Salvatore brothers, and this bourbon is a continuation of that. This is about building new memories with the brothers and with each other. It's about
Excuse to hang out too, I'm sure.
community,
Yeah.
conversations. So at the end of the day, that's what entertainment is, and we are social animals. And for Paul and I, it's important to build conversation. And yes, of course, this is an alcoholic company. I have another company that's not. It's a functional drink mix company, also sort of vampire-based. It's called Immortal Rituals, but that was designed to keep me going. But yes, figuring out what to do with all of this IP and working so hard in the entertainment business, I realized my sort of calling, the one thing I needed to do was start to build for-profit companies that could then take those profits and use them and invest them into the big tentpole, necessary nonprofit initiatives that we so need in the world that no one, quite frankly, has the balls or the wherewithal to finance. And if you're in the future of business are companies with triple bottom lines, right? People, planet, profit. And agriculture is a huge part of bourbon. Barley, wheat, rye, and corn. And no matter what side of the political spectrum you sit on, gathering around food and farmers transcends all party lines and borders. So we want to take care of our farmers and build a huge regenerative agriculture business, because once our food comes from regenerative farms, climate change will slow by biosequestration, right? Drawdown, using plants to pull carbon out of the sky and put it safely back where it belongs, which is in the ground.
And that's a big part of your foundation, which I found interesting too with the show, is it kicks off talking about climate change and how there's a virus that could melt through the snow that is melting, and it turns out to be a vampire virus.
Right. Well, that is one of the things that really drew me to it. Jonathan Mayberry and his brilliance. You know, this isn't just a one-off piece of material. This is 5 books from an acclaimed, best-selling author. You know what I mean? Plus numerous graphic novels. The graphic novels are amazing, and they serve as like a really great story reference and character reference and visual reference. But because the ice is melting, this isn't just happening in our show. This is actually happening on our planet. And the scientific community is publishing scientific article after scientific article after scientific article, issuing grave concern for when that ice melts, the stuff that's below it is dangerous, some of it. Not to mention the methane. But we're already seeing it where some of the permafrost is melting. Hooved animals are developing this hoof rot. It's killing them. So what does this mean for humanity? What does it mean for our wildlife? What does it mean for our livestock? These are big issues that the show deals with. And because of climate change, this virus gets exposed. I get infected with it with my best friend, played by the beautiful and talented Adrienne Holmes. And we start spreading this disease. And the big tentpole, socially relevant components of this show that we're all dealing with are climate change, borders, racism, disease, fear, politics, and then ultimately the politics of fear, right? How it seeps into our devices and ultimately into our psyche in this age of the algorithm. These are huge socially relevant themes that we are beyond excited to explore in the show, but wrapped up in a dynamic vampire world, right? So we can make it sexy and dynamic and scary and dangerous and ultimately thought-provoking and incredibly controversial. And not just for the sheer sake of being controversial, but to get people talking. Again, community, right?
Yes, this, a lot of people probably thought, oh, Ian is going back
to
this genre.
Going back to be a vampire.
Yeah, he just left this after almost a decade playing a vampire. But the things you just mentioned is what kind of makes it different and makes it sort of the perfect project for you. It's kind of blending a lot of your, what you like and what you care about in the world.
Right.
Is that kind of what drew you into coming back to vampires?
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little insane, right? That a guy that would spend 8 years on a vampire show would end up on another one. And when my agent and my manager, I've been with my agent for 23 years, my manager 19 years. Like, these are deep familial relationships. We make decisions as a team, as a family. We are family. And when they brought this to me, I just said, guys, this seems like career suicide. Why would I ever And actually, also too, my wife stepped in, and Nikki reminded me, this is 5 amazing books to mine story from. And my team said the same thing. This is a graphic novel from a best-selling author. This is a gold mine of IP. And to be able to tell these relevant stories and hold a mirror up to society, but also have a lot of fun and scare the shit out of people, frankly, is something I could not pass up. It was very organic for me. I always wanted to play a scientist. And after spending 8 years on a vampire show playing Damon, having a blast. I was so fortunate to play that character. He was funny, he was snarky, he was sexy, he was dangerous. He was also very much a prick. But people loved him because he had this vulnerability. This guy's like, what am I doing here? He had this vulnerability to him, right? And he was funny. Like Damon genuinely enjoyed what he did. I always say Damon Salvatore was the guy who, he would have the same look on his face, whether he was saving a kitten out of a tree or literally ripping your face off. Same look. And that guy was really fun to play. But when I found Luther Swann, I was excited to play Luther Swann because he too possesses these superpowers. But his superpowers are, what makes Luther Swann a superhero is that he's a great father. He's a great scientist. He's a great husband. Because to me, great dads, great scientists, and great husbands are superheroes. Because everything around them spreads positively, right? But to have this sort of guy who's just a good, normal man, it doesn't work for television. You've got to send him into an environment and stack the deck against him in a way that is so profoundly deep and hard and brutal. And he is tasked with finding a cure for this. And he spent his whole life and career studying infectious diseases, working with the best epidemiologists in the world to one day help prevent a catastrophic epidemic event, which this ends up becoming, and he's literally in the center of it. So Jonathan Mayberry put together a team of writers. This isn't just one guy. He put together a team of writers to tell these authentic perspectives, right? Because he'll tell you, he'll say, look, I'm a white guy, I live in San Diego. What do I know about a young Native American or a young Latina woman living on a border town? So he put together these writers to tell these unique perspectives, and then they all interweave together into this thread of the story that he edited and put together. That's the beauty of it, because you have authentic perspective, right? As a writer, the old adage is, the rule is write what you know. And that's another reason that's a powerhouse of this show, is the perspective, right? And that's exciting, and the thought of getting in a room with a very diverse group of women and men to now go into another season and really pick apart, what are these big tentpole elements that hold up our society? What is at the top of this global Jenga that we all live in? And we ask ourselves those questions all the time. And we call our vampires bloods. This disease is going to spread very quickly, like a 28 days later, right? If I had it, I would hope the show would be 28 days later meets Handmaid's Tale by way of Walking Dead. These are all big, amazing themes, thematics. But if you look at what happens when there's so many bloods that airlines can't fly anymore. What happens when there's a new mortgage crisis? Because the banking world's starting to fall apart because millions of people are sick. They're not paying their mortgages. What happens when telecommunications companies can't function? When society starts to fracture? These are really cool things that we can't wait to tell.
Yeah, all mixed in with, these vampires that are not they're not Damon Salvatore. They're not, scary, but also sex. They're, in their own way.
By the way, some of them will be sexy, but right now
they're scary.
They're scary. And we spent months building these creatures out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what kind of, how did you want these monsters to look? What did you want them to sort of feel like when people first saw what they looked like? Because it's a little different than your stereotypical vampire.
Wanted them to feel and look incredibly scary. This is a gene mutation that is causing crazy genetic mutations in people, causing them to become these really vicious, murderous beasts, aka vampires. But don't tell anyone. I mean, I say this with a great deal of appreciation and love. I wasn't just an actor on this show. I got to be quite a creative force behind the show as an executive producer and as the lead actor and as a director. The post-production side is really where your skill sets and the team really comes together. We spent 11 months of post-production on a 10-episode show. It's unheard of. We knew we had something special. We needed more time from Netflix and IDW. They gave it to us, thankfully. But we spent even months building the creatures out. You know, post-production on a show, when you're delivering, non-linear television is, you're delivering an entire show to Netflix at one time, at one date. It's incredibly granular, right? Every aspect to every frame of an actor, their whole performance, right? Every breath, the way you end on someone blinking or looking up at the sky, the color, you're coloring every frame of the show, every character in the show. Mixing the sound and music, when you go to mix an episode of television, it's like producing an album, right? You're sitting on a big mixing stage, you're watching with thousands of layers of sound. We had a team of 90 people or 80 people working 16 hours a day for months, putting this through post-production. So even a gasp or a little bit of breeze in the background, a leaf rustle that you want to put in, you're adding all these elements. I mean, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that we put in over the last 11 months.
It shows that you guys wanted to get it right and perfect. Because you
Something
are doing 10 episodes, right, at once?
Right.
Tonight at midnight.
Tonight at midnight. Well, it's at midnight on the West Coast, 3 a.m.,
Yep.
3:01 a.m.
3:01 a.m.
But that is the beauty of this, and I'm really grateful to have had that experience. Another thing my team and my wife reminded me of, having spent 172 episodes on Vampire Diaries, I acquired some skill sets that allow me to understand this genre in a really profound way. This genre is amazing. It stands the test of time. It transcends generations and demographics. And it can be quite a lesson because at the end of the day, vampires are the story of the outsider, the ostracized, the alone. And this disease, the allegory is cancer, right? You guys know, we see it. Cancer is ripping through our homes and our communities. It's destroying our medical systems. It's destroying families and homes, and it's really pretty gnarly. This is the same thing. And much like AIDS did in the 80s and 90s, it is infecting and affecting indiscriminately. It doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, how much money you have. It doesn't matter. And I think once we get to see society start fracturing, fear is a big part of this. And the fear of the diseased or what we know. I mean, we used to put lepers in leper colonies, and kick them out of society because of the fear of it spreading, which it was. And these are amazing themes that we want to play. And an interesting thing about our vampires, I feel like I'm just talking too much. One cool thing about our vampires that I think you guys will dig, which also really helps us later in the story, much like a disease or cancer, your genetics make you predisposed to certain diseases, right? In our show, where you're from determines the type of creature you are. So this gene was actually scheduled to be the next evolution of humankind, right? If you look at what happened with the Denisovan and the Neanderthals, one came in, one went out, So a vampire or a blood from Eastern Europe is completely different from a vampire in Brazil. And this later on, when there's a lot of these things running around, is going to really work and help because they're going to have fracturing within their own species. They're going to experience tribalism and racism amongst themselves. And I think it's going to be an amazing sort of allegory and a really great reference and socially and emotionally and visually for us all to see. But or woven into the thread of this sort of narrative of our story. And I'm beyond excited, to get into that season 2. I need viewers. We need people watching the show. So I'm just encouraging everyone, look, if you liked Vampire Diaries or you liked what I did or something with ISF or you just like vampires in general, watch the show. Give it a chance. Share it with your friends because getting into that next season is going to kick ass. And the stories and the things that we get to tell and do are going to be pretty amazing.
I mean, you've had some experience, with Lost. You saw people watch week by week and get more and more wrapped up in it. Same with Vampire Diaries. This is different for you because it's really Netflix is streaming. It's all your episodes at once. Are you ready for all that onslaught of
Nonlinear TV?
Yeah.
Listen, I love network television. It's been so good to me. This is another level. And I'm excited for people to just see it. I put everything I had into the show. It took me away from my family for a very long time. It put me in the hospital. The show put me in the hospital. I was so exhausted. I mean, I say this with a smile on my face because I'm fine, but I pushed so hard that my body just said, hey, you got to take a break. Go to the ER. Get some electrolytes. Take a nap. And then you're fine. Boom. You bop out. Next morning, you're just back on set. But we were doing reshoots, and we had 6 days. We had the budget to shoot 6 days, but we needed 10 days of material. And we crammed 10 days of shooting into 6. And it was crazy. But it was amazing. And the team we did it with, we made it work. And so this isn't just something I put my name on and I got a paycheck from. I haven't been paid in a very long time now. And that's okay. This is my passion, and this is the 2.0 version of me. And I keep seeing online people comparing as the 2.0, Vampire Diaries 2.0. That's fine with me. This is the same genre, but this is a new level and a new take. Yeah. So.
Well, because you were in, you entered the genre at the height of Twilight, which your wife Nikki Reed was in.
Crazy.
And
I didn't plan that.
It made the vampires young and sexy and different than Dracula, different than the gothic vampire we've seen.
Right.
And now this is kind of taking the genre elsewhere. How do you see the vampire, the culture of vampires and pop culture kind of growing?
Well, this is a grounded version, and it's the first time that it's not supernatural. And I think in this sort of digital age where we're all just like this, I think it's going to be nice to have something that's less fantasy sci-fi and more grounded. I think it hopefully will ask questions or create chatter within your own brain, in your own soul, and then create more conversations with others. I think that's something that's special, is a more grounded scientific medical approach. And that's why, listen, because we only did 10 episodes, right? In a network format, we would have a much longer runway. You have 22 episodes, right? Or 18, 20, something like that. This was only 10, so this was really just scratching the surface. You know what I mean? It's just the very beginning of this journey. And it's the journey of this guy, Luther Swann, and Michael Fayne. And, check it out. Let me know what you think. I mean, I'm really grateful to be sitting here talking about it. The fact that I get to talk to you guys about it means that that's in the can, which was not the case for a very long time. And my poor wife was pretty worried about me at one point. There was a time, my producing partner and I, one of them, my producer partner, James, there was a period from the beginning or middle of December to the end of April that we actually didn't go to sleep before 3 or 4 a.m. And then I was up at 7 or 7:30 every day. And I ran like that for months, just dialing in every frame of the show. So
do it for Ian, guys. Watch the show. I only got to see the first episode, and I'm in.
Yes, thank you.
I love that you're a father in this. You're a friend. It's really, like you said, it's grounded in humanity, and that's what's. I'm excited to see.
Well, he's not selfish, right? He's selfless for the most part. Damon was very selfish, but fun. But this guy is really, You know, he was an altruistic scientist. However, though, once we start to peel back the layers of the onion on Swann and we really start to open the curtains, you're going to see behind the curtain of a very complex and flawed individual, very much stacking the deck against him because the hero becomes the anti-hero, becomes he goes through a lot. And this is a global show. We get to introduce characters from all over the world, Brazil, India, Africa, Asia, you know, and that's the way life is. Look at all of us. We're all different in here, right? There's no reason. You know, the American film and television market is like between 18 and 22% of the global market at this point. So this should be about the world. And that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Oh, well, we have a Twitter question and then a few
Yeah,
from the
tell me.
audience.
What's up?
So, Ian, what do you do when you have to cry in a scene?
I have craft service bring me a giant pail of cut onions.
No, I'm curious, though.
Actually, I should do
Has
that.
becoming a father made you a little more emotional?
Becoming a father makes me a sappy bag of tears. I was with
Think about that baby. And
literally, you could happen right now. I was with Nick and the baby and our horse. We have a lot of animals. Literally 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, and watching the interaction of our tiny little girl with this massive horse, and they love each other. And he's really sweet. I mean, we have to be very careful he doesn't throw his head, but he's very sweet with her, and he nuzzles her hand, and she sticks her hand literally up his nostril. It disappears. And she just calls his name out, even from her crib. And I was sitting there, and I was sitting in the barn, and I got so teary just watching the love and interaction between this giant creature and this tiny creature, and how they just love each other.
You're going to make me cry. I'm getting
You know what I mean? They can't talk to each other. They don't
Sweet.
speak the same language, although my daughter loves to feed me hay. Yeah. Daddy, eat this. But and as far as acting goes, you really can access some like really intense stuff. Sorry.
This is the internet. Feel free.
Oh, it's the internet.
Yeah.
You can really access some very intense and emotional shit that you just couldn't bring up before, and so it's pretty amazing.
I love that. All right, who's first? Go.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
What's up, Caitlin? I'm Ian.
I just wanted to start off by saying I've been a fan of yours for 10 years, and this is my first time getting to see you, so that's really awesome.
Thank you for wasting so much of your time.
I know you talked about this a little bit, but my question was, as executive producer and director of many of these episodes, how does it differ from acting, and do you prefer one to the other?
I mean, listen, that's a great question. First of all, you're never going to hear me complain. Ever. I refuse to do it. Complaining in this life is like a huge waste of breath. Stepping onto a set as an actor you have a lot of responsibility, but stepping onto that set as an executive producer and a director and an actor, it's a dance, right? At that point, you are firing on all cylinders. And at that point, your passion, your skill sets, and your preparation is what's going to shine, because you've got 120 people asking you questions at all times. You've got to compartmentalize that, make sure it's a positive, inspiring, efficient workplace to be in. That's your job as the boss. But then as a creative and an actor, you also have got to be nimble and loose and really enjoying yourself, because if you're not, you're doing it wrong, even when you're stressed out. But as a producer, you show up to set and you know the schedule really intimately. And as an actor, like when you're on a TV show, you're kind of selfish. You want the best for your character. You want the most amount of takes and time. But as a producer, you know you have a very specific amount of time and a set amount of money and hours in the day to get the best performances you can on screen. So if a camera goes down or an actor is late or traffic or rain or something, you know, wait, if I miss this shot, then this sequence isn't going to work, but I can't push to that day. I mean, it's a lot of layers, and so you've got to trust the process, trust your team, and just be prepared. And I think that's with any job in any industry. It's preparation, preparation, preparation. Luck favors the prepared. And that is sort of the definition of luck, what it is, right? When opportunity meets preparation. That's really the definition of luck. And so, I mean, I prepare in the car on the way to work. I prepare when the baby's taking a nap. I prepare literally at every second of every moment I can, so that I know what I'm talking about when someone asks me a question. Because there's nothing worse than someone coming up to you and saying, "Hey, we have 2 minutes, so we need to do da-da-da-da," and you just go, "Huh?" Yeah. I can't. That can't. It's not a possibility, you know. So
This is why you end up in the ER, Ian.
pretty much. But in that, by the way, that won't happen again. You know, you learn your thresholds, and what's that? It is a Sagittarius thing. Yeah, except Sagittarius, and I'm very much a Sagittarius because, you know, the symbol of a Sagittarius is the centaur, right? It's the half man, half horse. He shoots an arrow and chases it, and then on the way to that arrow just realizes, shoots another arrow and then chases that one. Yeah. Organization is not my skill set.
You seem to do it, though.
I have a team that puts that together.
Who's
anyway.
that? Here we go.
How you doing?
Hi, Ian.
What's going on?
I'm having a heart attack right now. I love you so much. But hi, my name is Pamela, and
What's up, Pamela?
you're making me really nervous.
It's
Do you want me to
the
turn?
eyes, right?
Do you want me to turn?
Crystal blue eyes.
I mean, this is what conversations are.
I love you so much. You're such a talented actor, and I know you're so hardworking. And I just want to know, what do you do in your free time when you're not working? Do you spend time with your family?
Only
Do
family.
you have
There
hobbies?
is no free time.
No free time.
No. It's all baby.
Baby.
Baby and wife. Baby, family, wife.
You don't do anything else? You know?
Not right
you know,
now.
Friends?
I mean, I honestly haven't
You
had
have
dinner.
no friend.
I haven't had dinner. I mean, I have my wife. She's my best friend, but I haven't had dinner with a friend. I mean, we had dinner together actually with a couple of couples sometimes, but I can count on one hand, I think, how many times I've seen like a friend for a drink in the last. I don't even
Ring
know,
up Paul.
like 2
That's
years.
why you got to call Paul right
Well,
after this.
Paul and I are about to have a lot of time together. No, and you know what? That's all good. There's ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have a lot of time, and other times you got to make hay while the sun is shining. And if I have a spare second, even to have a quick meditation or a quick workout or a hike, I'll get that in. But my priority is spending time with this tiny human being that's growing in the most exponential rate. So nothing else is important, you know what I mean? So that's really kind of where I am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I get it. I'm a new mom too, and I just rush home
Congrats.
to the babe.
I mean,
You got to.
yeah, you
For all
sound,
those parents out there.
You sound sort of like, you sound a little boring when people say, "What do you do in your free time?" And I say, "Well, I have none." And they go, "Yeah, right." So actually, my days are scheduled to the 15-minute mark, 6 days a week. So,
Good dad right here.
congratulations on.
Oh, thanks. She's a
mommyhood.
year now, you know. So, but I'll still say I'm a new mom.
It's
Till-
new.
Yeah, until
A
40
year
years
is
or-
new. Exactly. Yeah, I don't
Who's
blame
up?
you.
Last
Thank you.
question. Here we go.
What's up, girl? How you doing?
Hi. Okay. I'm good. You?
Aren't you hot?
Well, not really. Kind of.
Okay. How are you? What's your name?
Okay, I'm good. I'm Rushno.
Rochelle?
No. Rush. No.
Rochelle.
Got it.
That's a beautiful name.
Thank you. I've been a huge fan of you since TVD. Like, you're an amazing person. Really.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She's so kind. You have really wonderful energy. Keep going.
Thanks. So, my question is, was it like transitioning from the role of a vampire to a doctor? Like, did you have to do anything really?
Well, you know, yeah, it's funny because, going from like the snarkiest, one of the funniest dudes on television for a long time. Don't sit down. Don't leave me. I can stand up if you want. I'm just exhausted. I physically can't stand up. I thought about that. You know, Swann is not he's not like Damon. I mean, I think when we get down to it, there'll be a lot more levity in Swann. But I used to walk on the Vampire Diaries set, just like a peacock. You know, Damon was so cocky and so funny, and Swann is he's very grounded. And when we first meet him, he's sort of this like not a pushover, but he's a more kind, gentle spirit. You know, which that changes quickly, but. I just had to trust and not worry about being the entertainer. I just had to focus on just being truthful in those moments. And hopefully the story of Swann, the arc, is what will be interesting. It's not every scene. Swann is not a scene stealer. He doesn't walk in and take his shirt off and drink 5 shots of bourbon and then, like, you know, throw a party. You know, Swann parties with his microscope, you know? So I trust that it won't, you know, I'm not worried about boring people. I just, it's the overall truthfulness and groundedness of the character that I just have to trust you guys aren't going to, you know, slay me for.
I think it's great. I think it's nice seeing you play a different person. That's what being an actor is all about.
That's what it's about,
yeah.
right? But there is that thing, you know. It's like a high, you know. Playing a character like Damon for so long, he's just so fun. There's so many, but this side of it, being able to be a creative force behind the character and now knowing where he's going to go, he is really going to be a dynamic cat, and it's gonna, you know, we're gonna put him through some really serious stuff over the span of seasons. But I need you guys to watch it.
Yep. Well, that's a good place to wrap this up. Watch V-Wars, guys. If you want to see Ian on your TV screens, you got to watch V-Wars.
Yeah, right. Only on Netflix, and you know, just again, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you guys for, again, wasting your time. But being here and having this conversation and spending your time and caring, it means the world. Not everything is... Listen, season 1 of shows are tough. You're just finding the feel of your show, the look of your show, your characters, the aesthetic, the pacing, the timing, everything. All we tried to do was tell a grounded story with truthful performances in in a world that's extremely rapidly deteriorating. That's all we set out to do in season 1. So don't expect, like, you know, a back rub and a piece of like chocolate cake. This is grounded and raw and sort of, you know, has its feet on the ground. But going forward, I'm going to blow the lid off of this and make it a really global and hopefully, listen, not to sound like a tool, but, you know, Lost and Vampire Diaries were these sort of big tentpole water cooler shows, you know? And I don't have any desire for V-Wars to not have that same trajectory and create that kind of chatter. So thank you for helping me get it there. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm not just trying to sell you media. I know you guys, some of your faces for years now. Like, you guys, thank you for this continued support. And I promise I'll just keep working as hard as I can. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, Ian. And watch V-Wars.